What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Nerd Crew podcast. I am your man, Andy York, and joined as always, the Linus to my Charlie Brown, Jason Lee. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I am finally here. We just got done celebrating my mom's birthday, and so we're running a little bit behind, but not crazy behind. But yeah, this is a fun week. This is another filler week, mainly because we are getting ready to go into Captain Marvel week, which is we've been very excited about this for a long time. We're ready for it. We're seeing it. I think you're seeing it Thursday night as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you're going to the 7:00 showing.
Yep.
And I'm doing the 9:55 showing. So
yeah, I can't do that. I can't be up that late, especially not when I work at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you, but just make sure you don't spoil anything for me, because then I would be very upset.
You check your phone in the middle of the movie to see
I'm turning my phone off.
the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
I am turning my phone off. But yeah.
Possibility.
But yeah, we are very excited for this week. We've been looking forward to this week for a long time. But if you're new to the podcast and you're wondering, hey, what the heck am I listening to? Well, you're listening to two guys who like to talk about movies, comic books, video games, basically anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. Am I missing any? I don't think I'm missing any.
Well, there's a lot of other stuff that we try to kind of branch out into, but those are the big three.
Those are the main three that we talk about, which is all good. But yeah, if you are new to the podcast, make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Nerd Crew Podcast. But not for long, because we are going through a rebranding process, which will be unveiled here pretty soon in the next couple weeks, which we are very excited to do. We're very excited for. But yeah, there's a lot of new upcoming things that we're going to start doing here pretty soon. So we're branching out. We're doing more than just YouTube and more than just SoundCloud and iTunes and Google Play. So check out that. Look for that in the future.
About to open our TikTok account.
Yes, we are starting a TikTok. Make sure
we can do our version of hit or miss.
Man, bring Vine back. Vine is so much better than TikTok. I would start a Vine so quick.
What we'll do is we'll make a separate YouTube channel called Nerd Crew Vine, and we'll just upload 6-second videos onto YouTube.
Yeah, and it'll just be like, it'll just be like the good old days of Vine. Did you have a Vine?
No.
Oh, man.
No, but I watched a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then I watched a lot of the Vine compilations with very weird names.
Yes.
Vines that cured my depression.
Like the Try Not to Laugh, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do that every once in a while, man. I had a Vine. I had to get like 3 because each one kept getting filled up more, and then I forget what my password is, so I'd have to start all over again, which was not fun. So, but yeah, okay. So what we like to do every week is we like to come in with something that we are into this week, whether it's a movie, a video game, anything random. So Jason, what are you into this week?
Well, this week it is a new movie that I watched, and one of the only new things that I did this week, because it's been a very busy period for me, especially at work. I watched the movie Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe from Harry Potter. Super funny, and I really, really liked it. It's not like one of my favorite movies of all time, but it was just really enjoyable. And we ordered a pizza, and it was pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and I would recommend you to check it out. If you like comedy, it is R-rated, so you got to take that into consideration. But I really liked it. I don't want to give away a whole lot about it. Daniel Radcliffe plays a dead person, and I forget the other actor's name, but he plays just like a crazy guy, and that's most of the movie, is this crazy guy marooned with a dead person who he uses in a lot of different like practical ways to help him survive. So that's why it's called Swiss Army Man.
Gotcha. So. I believe it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check it out if you haven't. Actually, I haven't seen it, so I'll add that to the list of movies I'm watching over spring break the next 2 weeks.
I think it's like 2 years old now.
Really?
3, yeah.
Okay. Because I remember hearing about it. I've never watched it. I've never seen it. So what I'm into this week is something I've talked about before, but I'm bringing it back because I've finally been able to play it more, and that's Kingdom Hearts 3. It's a lot of fun. I just got to the Toy Box land, so basically with Buzz and Woody, all the Toy Story characters, and you're inside. You go from Andy's house to like a massive like mall, but it's like all kids stores. So it's like it's really weird, but it's still really cool. And you like get to like take over robots and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't had a chance, if you're into that kind of game, it's like Final Fantasy meets Disney, and it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, if you're into that, check it out. If you haven't played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, though, I would recommend at least doing your homework on those two, because then when you get into 3, you would be very, very confused as to what's going on.
I've heard that Kingdom Hearts lore is just the craziest lore out there, and it's just completely insane.
Yeah, and I love every second of it. It's so much fun.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. So, this week, there wasn't a whole lot that happened. And I feel like we've said this the last 2 or 3 weeks, but we have a couple trailers that we're going to talk about.
It's definitely been a slow month.
Yeah.
It's been a slow February, and we just got into March.
Normally, like February, early March is kind of a slow period anyway, before the summer blockbusters and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but next week's going to be, probably until Endgame is going to be very filled and very fun.
Well, and it'll be the first Marvel movie review that we've done, because we started after Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right. Yep.
So this is a really exciting time.
I think this is our first big. Well, I don't know, because Aquaman was kind of big.
You were right.
But this is our first massive movie review that we've both seen on opening night, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this will be next week's episode. Will be a lot of fun. So check that out. Join us on our YouTube channel every Tuesday when we live stream. Be there for that. We'll talk about it. Don't worry, we will make sure that when we talk about, we'll do the spoiler free for the first few minutes, and then when we start talking about spoilers, I will put it on the screen to where everybody can see that we are doing a spoiler review, to where we don't ruin anything for anybody, because we want you to go see this movie for sure. So yeah, that's next week. Look out for that. But this week we have 2 trailers we're going to talk about, and then since it is Captain Marvel with our beautiful Captain Marvel Funko Pop. There we go.
She doesn't stand up very well.
That's Groot falls down all the time. There we go. Yeah, she'll stay there the entire time.
She's going to climactically follow during the podcast. That would be awesome.
But yeah, we are going to talk about 2 trailers that came out this week, and then we're going to talk about movies that did and did not live up to the hype, specifically since we're leading into Captain Marvel. And there is mixed reactions of to whether there was even hype for this movie or not. We'll get into all that when we get to that part of the podcast, which we've already made known our feelings about several times. But if you're new, we'll do it again. So the first trailer, do you want to talk about Shazam first, or do you want to start with the high or the low?
I'll let you decide. We need a wheel.
We do need a wheel, just to spin it. Yeah.
Someday, maybe after the rebranding, or after our lives kind of slow down, or we get our stuff together, we need a wheel. A wheel that we can split into 2 parts, or 3 parts, or it just kind of depends, and we can just spin it.
Yep.
And it can help us decide.
There we go.
So there we go.
Early. That was early in.
She agrees.
She
Put her up against the mic.
That could work.
Practical solutions to everyday problems.
Look at that.
But yeah, no, if we had a wheel, that would be so cool.
Yes.
Because for the most part, it's just the 2 of us and this microphone and a bunch of Funko Pops, and we've got some posters. We need, another dynamic.
We do. We need, which we're looking to, and this is totally part of the rebranding, but we may move venues to where we can get a wall to where we can actually put stuff behind us and make it look cool, so you're not looking at a window the entire time.
We could just put the camera over here and face
We could do that.
So we're both on the same side of the desk.
We might do that.
So we're not
opposed. We're not against each other. No, because we agree a lot. So yeah, this isn't. If you're looking for a podcast where 2 guys fight, this is not. I don't think we've had. Have we? Have we disagreed on anything really, massive? I think we have a couple times.
Maybe a few.
Maybe yeah, because you love the Spider-Man movies, and I hate them with a passion. So that's the one.
Most of our movie ratings are just a few points off from each other. I think that's a pretty good example.
Yeah.
Generally, we agree with each other.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
We're not too optimistic. We're not too negative, but we're not too positive all the time either. We give a good balance. So look out for that. If you're into that, look for that.
We're only positive about Marvel stuff and negative about DC stuff.
Yes. And then Star Wars is somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Which is
not true. That's
yeah. Because the quote Marvel property this week, the trailer for it absolutely sucked, and the DC trailer actually looked pretty cool. So this is a win week for DC for now.
We can start with the bad.
We'll start with the bad. So last Thursday night, which total tangent. Why would you drop a trailer at 9 o'clock at night? Why would that make? Why would you like? That makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, the thing is, it's 9 o'clock at night in Nashville, Tennessee, but
right, which would be 10 o'clock
other
in
places in the world.
Well, yeah,
it's a different time, and you are definitely not trying to sell this movie
in the States
to the two of us.
No.
Or to a lot of people that I know. I think that there's always been a big market for comic book movies all around the world. And that's something that we really saw with Aquaman. And that's the reason it passed $1 billion. Wasn't because it was so insanely popular in America.
No, but
or really in this side of the world, but across the world, you know, that worldwide box office really
it took off.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that they're trying to kind of do the same thing with Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it
won't do much.
I don't think Dark Phoenix is going to do well at all. But
no.
we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So really with this trailer, it seems like they are not holding anything back. Any information, they're not holding anything. I think the only I've watched this line on loop like 30,000 times, but it's the one with Cyclops and Professor X saying, "What do we do? I don't know what to do." Have you seen that? Where somebody has cropped that off and it's like just them two saying it like back to back, extremely quick, like over and over and over and over and over again. I'll show it to you afterwards. It's one of the best. It's like the only good thing about the sort of yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like the only good thing about the trailer. Well, I take that back because my least favorite character apparently is dying, and they just showed it in the trailer.
Yeah, no, that's not even a spoiler.
No,
it's just a thing.
Because like the last few weeks, because we've already heard about this, but like the last few weeks, we were like, we're not going to spoil it for you, like we're not going to tell you, and then all of a sudden, just in the trailer, they just show Mystique dying, and it's like, okay, so
right, the trailer heavily indicates and basically shows the fact that Mystique is going to die, which the director later confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
In an interview, yes, it's supposed to be that way. The trailer is supposed to tell you that Mystique dies.
Right.
In this movie, which is something that we've already heard about. And really, kind of what that says to me is just Fox trying to get people to come and see the movie.
Yes.
And they know that it's not going to do well. They've already pushed it back from releasing earlier, like in 2018.
To now.
Pushed it back and
yeah.
tried to reshoots and, you know, tried to retool the entire movie. And this really, to me, is just trying to get people into the theater. Because now there's already a level of intrigue, you know, kind of. But it just feels cheap. It feels cheap and it feels kind of manipulative. I don't really think I'm going to end up seeing Dark Phoenix in theaters. This isn't the thing that makes me decide I'm not going to go see it. I already just was kind of like, whatever.
Right.
On it. You know, if I hear it's like laughably terrible, then if I hear I'm going to enjoy myself, like laughing at it.
Yeah.
Then I'll go see it. Or if I hear that somehow by some miracle
it's
of
actually
God,
good.
It's like amazing, then I'm going to go see it.
Right.
But if people are just kind of like lukewarm, or if they're like, oh, that just wasn't good.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same case for X-Men Apocalypse. I still haven't seen that. I should probably see it someday, but I just kept hearing,
wait.
you know, it's just not...
You can wait on that
not
one.
worth your time, not worth your attention. Unlike a Justice League, to where it's like it's just laughably
bad.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So you should see it eventually. Probably, you know, you can like pirate it or something, or just watch it on.
You can probably get it for free now, like, and
Yeah.
legally anywhere.
Yeah, I would think so, because that's the level of quality.
Yeah.
They could pay me to watch it.
Yeah.
And I would feel a little.
That's the only way I would watch it again, is if somebody paid me to watch it.
But yeah, with the Dark Phoenix thing, you know, other people might feel differently on it, but that's just kind of the way that I see it.
Yeah.
Because Fox knows that they don't have the investment in their X-Men franchise that Marvel has, or even that DC has, in what they're doing. I'd say they're way behind even DC in just fan investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they have made good movies in the past, their good movies recently have been
the solo
not really
movies.
spin-offs, but yeah, like Deadpool and Logan, that have been their own things.
Yeah.
And the main X-Men franchise, you know, everybody just got burnt out on Apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah.
So with Dark Phoenix, you know, they're like, here's this new interesting thing that's happening. You know, this character that we've built up, oh, she's dead.
Yeah.
Well, built up. You know, you got a high-profile actress to play her.
Right, yeah.
But
yeah, it's I'll probably go watch it in theaters just because I've seen, like, I have somewhat, and I don't even want to call it an investment, but basically, like, I've watched every single X-Men movie coming into it, you know, and I've given my enough time already to go watch it, and this is the last hurrah for the Fox X-Men franchise. Mm-hmm. So, you know, might as well go ahead and go watch it in theaters, kind of give it the send-off, whatever. But like you said, the last few the last few X-Men movies have been very subpar. If not even subpar, I would say they're even below par. With Apocalypse and with even some of the earlier ones weren't that great. You know, like, you have the ones that were killer, like Days of Future Past, and I would even say First Class was even really good. Really, like, there's not a whole lot of other great stuff that they have really... I mean, they're good, but there have been a lot of, like, really crappy ones, too.
Well, I'd say the issue with the X-Men is that they cannot end their trilogies to save their life.
No.
The first X-Men, I think it came out in 2000, was good. Mm-hmm. X2 was great. The Last Stand was god-awful.
Yeah.
And then First Class was good. Days of Future Past was great. And Apocalypse was
trash.
god-awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then X-Men Origin Wolverine was terrible.
Yeah.
The Wolverine was whatever.
Yeah.
And then Logan was amazing. Deadpool's great. Deadpool 2 is even better.
If we even get a Deadpool 3.
It's really just been a complete mixed bag.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really weird, and like I want this movie to I really want this movie to succeed, to kind of give this franchise kind of like the farewell it kind of deserves. But mainly I don't have a lot of high hopes for this. The other thing I was going to say is I really wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the characters actually die in this movie. Because I've heard in interviews of, and I forget her name, but she's playing the main, besides Jean Grey, but like she's an unknown character, but she's a villain.
Jessica Chastain.
Yeah. She was on, it was either Fallon or Kimmel, because they were promoting the movie. And she said, yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I get to kill a bunch of X-Men. And so it's like, okay, so Mystique's not the only one dying then. You know, so there's a lot of theories of like, in the trailer, you see Quicksilver kind of do the slow motion thing, and then everybody kind of stop. Like, maybe he's dead, which kill off the only good character you have.
Yeah, Quicksilver, a.k.a. the only character people care about.
Right, which
X-Men.
I love Quicksilver. Like, if you were to bring if you want to get rid of the MCU Quicksilver and replace them, that's totally fine with me. But like,
and we know Wolverine isn't going to be in this.
Right? Yeah. Like, I don't think he's cameoing at all. So like, and here's the other thing, like, X-Men have changed their timelines, and like they've changed everything so many times, because we've already seen Jean Grey once in the X-Men movies. I think so, at least. Was it in Wolverine? Was that Jean Grey, or was that
in what?
Wolverine Origins?
In in Origins?
Did she play? Did she play Jean Grey?
In Origins,
you know who I'm talking about, don't you?
No.
She was redheaded. I'm just gonna look it up real quick.
Okay.
Because it's gonna bug me.
Yeah, I don't remember there being Jean Grey in Origins, but then again, I saw it a very long time ago at like midnight.
Yeah.
In like freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
So my memory on that movie isn't the best.
Wolverine, Deadpool,
Gambit
Did she play Silver Fox? It may have been Silver Fox.
I feel like that's
it. May have been... Find a picture. Let's see.
Because I feel like Jean Grey is too young to be...
Yeah, I would say so. But I think it was like the same...
I think Cyclops was in it.
Cyclops was in it, but I think like the Phoenix Force was in this one too. Because like I remember there being like a massive uproar about it. Let me see if I have to keep talking. I'll see if I can find it.
Dark Phoenix. It makes me wonder, if she says she's going to be killing a bunch of X-Men, which X-Men are going to die.
Right.
And also, we should bring up the fun little Easter egg, which has to be intentional, in the Dark Phoenix trailer. They're being captured by, random government task force that people care just so much about. And it's it looks like just a group of humans with guns, and they got them in a truck. And the patches that are on their shoulders say MCU on them.
Yeah.
Which is probably something like Mutant Containment Unit or something like that. But it's highly likely that it's intentional sort of jab, a self-aware jab at what's going to happen with the X-Men in the future.
Right.
And just kind of Fox being salty about
the
fact that Marvel Studios is getting it back.
Yeah, okay, so I was wrong. It wasn't in X-Men or Wolverine Origins, but it was in the X-Men, 1, 2, and 3. Jean Grey was in it.
Oh, yeah.
And, but they've already, okay, that never existed.
Yeah,
we're bringing in some... Right.
Yeah,
they
reset that.
Yeah, so, they've reset their entire timeline to where now everybody's kind of okay, where, we're 6 movies in since they've done this, but, where are we at? what are we still doing? So, you never know who they're going to kill off. You never know what they're going to do. I really hope they don't kill off Quicksilver, but it's the last movie, so who really cares at this point?
They don't kill off Nightcrawler, because I didn't see Apocalypse.
Yeah.
But Nightcrawler in the comics is one of my favorites.
Well, even, was it X-Men 2, the opening scene?
Yeah.
That's probably one of the coolest scenes in all of the X-Men franchise. That entire scene was really cool. If you want to kill off Cyclops, I don't really care about him. Kill him off. If you want to kill off Beast, I don't really care about Beast. Kill him off.
Yeah, why is Cyclops still just useless stock male?
Right.
We're 6 movies in. This is going to be the 7th mainline X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And still, they have not found a single interesting thing for Cyclops to do.
Which he's one of the coolest X-Men characters.
And that's something I want Marvel Studios to really nail once they get the characters back and use them hopefully a few years down the line. Is just really give us an interesting Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've already been known to take characters that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
Literally, characters that people already think are just bland and useless and make them interesting.
Yeah. So
make them engaging.
I really hope that they do. Really, I hope Cyclops gets his justice. I hope Jean Grey gets her justice because she's a really cool character as well. I don't know if she would... Depending on what they do with Captain Marvel, will kind of tell us if Jean Grey is too powerful for the MCU.
Well, and I don't really know. I saw a video earlier that was, or I saw a video thumbnail that was, characters that might be too powerful for the MCU. I don't really know. I don't tend to agree with that argument because you already have Thanos, Doctor Strange, Hulk. You already have insanely powerful characters.
But I think they've kind of...
They've downscaled
yeah.
And they can do that with anybody that
they
need to.
Yeah.
So, as long as you're just telling a story...
Which...
Anyone can be as powerful as you need them to be.
Yeah, and I think downscaling them fits into where the MCU is now. Where, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if you downscaled a... Because, I really think Captain Marvel, her power is going to be downscaled from what they actually are in the comics. They have to be, for the most part.
I think so, but then again, we're hearing that Captain Marvel is going to be probably the strongest Avenger.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Thor with Stormbreaker. I wouldn't say stronger than Thor with Stormbreaker, but probably stronger than base Thor. Maybe could go toe-to-toe with the Hulk. Maybe could go toe-to-toe with Thanos with no gauntlet.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting to me because it seems like we're going to get kind of a take on the Superman complex. To where you have this insanely powerful character and what makes them interesting.
Yeah.
What makes them tick. That's something I'm hoping to see in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But the power scaling is pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited to... Which this whole episode is kind of leading into Captain Marvel, so we're going to talk about her a lot as well. But I'm very excited to see how they do. We do have a question here that we'll jump into and talk about. Is it possible to just cart all the X-Men over to the MCU without a reboot? What do you think on that?
I am responding to it as we speak, and what I am saying is I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
Just because the Fox X-Men have a tone and a style that's completely different to the MCU. And the MCU has been meticulously planned out, even with disparate projects like Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy. They all kind of fit under one umbrella.
Right.
They all have different tones, but tones that coalesce with each other so that when they come together in Infinity War, it's kind of this big stew of different tones.
Yeah.
And the X-Men are just kind of far out in left field from what that is. They're created using different influences.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that Bryan Singer, his vision for the X-Men is not great, and it's not that
It's all over
exciting.
the place.
And they've made good movies out of that. and that mostly comes down to Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart and like the great people that they cast.
Yeah.
In those roles, and it kind of sucks to say, you know, we kind of have to redo all of this. It doesn't suck with Jean Grey or with Cyclops or Mystique or characters that, you know, I don't think are well cast, but I think that they've made good casting decisions in the past, so it's tough to say, you know, we just need to jump in and reboot this, but I think that's what they totally have to do.
Yeah.
Because when they come to Marvel Studios, they're going to have a tone that fits under that umbrella. Plus, there's the issue of the immense, confusing lore baggage that would come with just kind of like dumping them into this universe.
Yeah, I think the only one, and we've talked about this before, I think the only one that you could bring over is Deadpool.
Yes,
and that's just because he could fourth wall break. Hey, I'm over here now. Nothing else really matters. Okay, back to like, you know, he could be the only one to do that. Maybe you could do it with Hugh Jackman. Maybe. But I still think it would. I think it would benefit the Wolverine character more if Hugh Jackman didn't play Wolverine in the MCU. I think bringing somebody else to usher in a new MCU Wolverine, I think that's a much better route. Even if you wanted to bring in X-23, if you wanted to bring X-23, bring her in, let her be Wolverine, let her do her thing instead of having that type of, you know what I mean? I think that could work out pretty well.
I would say, in the case of Hugh Jackman, I think the only context under which he could appear would be in Deadpool 3. Or in a Deadpool movie stuck in the MCU. I would say outside of that, you probably shouldn't bring him over.
Yeah.
But since Deadpool is already obsessed with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, as has been shown in his movies, you know,
right.
I think that could be pretty funny. Like he has to say goodbye to Hugh Jackman as he leaves to sell out to Disney.
Yeah.
In the case of X-23, I wouldn't bring her over. I think she did a fantastic job. I think Logan is really a standalone thing.
Yeah,
and
I would agree with that.
Something that needs to be weaved, especially into the MCU, which has a completely different feel and tone. You'd really have to transform her. You'd have to adapt her. You'd have to kind of tone her down a little bit because she's a really violent character in Logan, which is great, and it works so well for that movie. And that movie as a standalone is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't think that she's someone who should
make the jump over.
Come along with Deadpool.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really think Deadpool is the only one to bring over, recast everybody else, because I think it still works out very well no matter what you do. And honestly, I don't think we're going to see X-Men in the MCU for another 5 years?
At least 5 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
Which I think is good because they need time to develop them. Unlike the Fantastic Four, which I think you could adapt in
anywhere and make it work
pretty easily.
Yeah.
I already have ideas of how you would do that. I talked about that on the last episode.
Yeah.
With the X-Men, you have so many different characters, and you really have to work around, where have the mutants been this entire time? Have they been here this entire time? You have a lot of things to work through, and I feel like they already have so much planned out that it would be tough to fold this entire subsection of Marvel lore
into it
so quickly.
Yeah, and I think it would be smart for them to wait 5 to 6 years just to kind of get the, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but kind of get the X-Men Fox franchise out of the way. Like, kind of let it kind of die down, and you don't really forget about it, but you're like, okay, it's been 6 years now.
That's a good thing, and now it's over.
Yeah, and now we're getting this new. Because we haven't... Well, yeah. I would say overall it's been a good thing, I think, for the most part. But I do think with, like, the Fantastic Four, we haven't had a good Fantastic Four yet. Nobody really remembers Fan Four Stick or the one before that as well. So I really think you could bring them in with new characters and everybody's totally fine with it. You wouldn't have any backlash at all with that at all. Which I think you might, if you started to recast the X-Men like next year or the year after that, I think you would get some backlash just from those people who think one thing. I think the same thing should never change, and blah 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 whatever. I think that would be the only time that you would see that kind of take over. But yeah, I think 5 to 6 years is when we'll really get a good dose of, which they'll probably start teasing them like in the next 3 to 4 years, but we won't get the first X-Men or mutant movie probably 5 or 6 years from now. So look out for that. But I'm very excited for the X-Men to be in the MCU for sure. But yeah, back to Dark Phoenix. I think at this point, the only reason why I would go see this movie is just because I'm a fan of the Netflix. Wow, I'm all over the place. The Fox X-Men franchise. I think that's the only reason why I go watch it in theaters, is just to kind of give it the, all right, farewell. We had fun well, for the most part, we had some fun. Yeah, we had some fun. We had some bad times as well, but it's over, so we need to move on. So that was the bad. The good trailer that we saw this week was the Shazam trailer that came out yesterday. I believe so. What were your thoughts of the trailer? Did you enjoy it? Are you excited for this movie? Were you excited before you saw this trailer? Everything like that.
Not really, and I'm more excited after seeing this trailer, which is what a trailer is supposed to do, and that's good. I don't think it was the best trailer of all time, but I thought it was pretty good, especially for a DC film. And if you've watched this podcast, you should already know extensively our thoughts on every DC film so far. We did an Aquaman review recently. But yeah, there are a lot of things that I like in this trailer. I think it feels really self-aware, finally. And I think it has a good sense of humor. I think it has kind of a snappy sense of humor, finally.
Yeah.
And of course, humor isn't something that has to be inherent to every comic book movie, but I feel like it can't hurt, especially after you already tried to do this big, epic,
serious
thing, and it just fell flat.
Yeah.
It fell completely flat. Aquaman kind of took DC movies in a different direction, and I'm hoping that Shazam is an even stronger push in a new direction for DC movies. It seems comparable to a Marvel movie, but a little more, I want to say a little more kid-oriented.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah. It feels a little bit simpler, at least from the marketing so far, and a little more just like a fun ride.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested. I'm probably going to go see it in theaters. I don't get out to see a ton of movies in theaters. That's just something with me. I usually see them a little bit after the fact. But this might be one that I catch in theaters if I hear it's good. And this trailer definitely increased my excitement for the movie.
Yeah. And, going back to the humor thing, I think with this, humor needs to be an element because it's about a kid being a superhero. And, that would, that's going to be funny in any sense, especially with, how he gets his powers of being Shazam. I think that's something that you really could look at, and that's something that really should be funny. But yeah, from this trailer, I really think that it is going to be a better version of DC. We said it in our review of Aquaman that Aquaman was the step in the right direction. They took Man of Steel was kind of a step in the right direction, sort of. I haven't seen it in a long time. I have to go back and watch it, but I don't really want to.
Well, I'd say Wonder Woman was a step in the right direction from BVS.
Yeah.
And then Aquaman was a step in the right direction from Justice League.
And Suicide Squad. Was Suicide Squad before BVS? Did it go Man of Steel?
After. It was between Wonder Woman and BVS.
There we go. Yep. All the crappy ones run together after a while.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Shazam.
Yeah, I think Shazam will be... I think since Aquaman has taken us in the right direction, I think this will be the first DC movie to continue to go in the right direction, hopefully.
And maybe it'll be the first one that I genuinely can say that I liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be a feat.
Yes. Well, I enjoyed Aquaman for the most part. And I use enjoyed very loosely, but I enjoyed it more than you did. But honestly, we both will enjoy... Just from what we've seen of Shazam, I think we'll both enjoy it. I think my favorite line, I have two favorite lines from the trailer. One, where he's trying to hit on those two girls, and the little brother, I don't know the names, but the little brother said, yeah, his name's Captain Sparklefingers. I think that one was really funny. And then when the convenience store is getting robbed, and he picks up this this tall statue or toy of Batman and goes, I am Batman. He goes, all right, Batman, fight, and throws Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a very funny line. So,
the best Batman appearance in any DC movie.
Yeah,
so
just get a toy Batman. It'll be much better than Ben Affleck. Dialogue and acting and everything. Just go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm very excited. I want to see where they go from here because I don't really know if we have any confirmed besides the Joker movie, which is kind of its own thing. We don't really have any other confirmed DC movies after this, do we?
Confirmed.
Is it a movie or is that going to be on the streaming app?
That's a movie.
Okay, I thought it was on the streaming app. So that's the next one that we have.
Yeah, and then there's the Flash, which is probably confirmed, and there's the Batman, which is probably confirmed, and then Suicide Squad 2, which is also
I forgot about that one.
Probably confirmed. Well, sorry, the Suicide Squad, which is going to be great because it's James Gunn.
Yeah,
and it's going to be great.
Yeah, hopefully,
no doubt. And Will Smith is out on that, but Margot Robbie is in.
Really?
So they're already making good decisions.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad Will Smith is too busy being blue. So that's whoever is Will Smith.
A great movie.
Listen, whoever is Will Smith agent needs to be fired quickly because he hasn't been in a good role since.
What do you mean he was in Bright? That was a great movie.
That was a Netflix movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
That movie's. I got 10 minutes in the movie and turned it off. Oh Lord, I forgot about that movie. Yeah,
Will Smith's been doing a lot lately.
He hasn't been in a good movie since.
You know, if I controlled YouTube Rewind, I would want Fortnite.
Yeah.
Marcus Brownlee. Another great Will Smith appearance.
Oh no. So yeah, we thumbs down on Dark Phoenix, thumbs up on Shazam. I think we're both very excited for Shazam. But we are very excited for this Thursday night, Captain Marvel. We are very excited to go see this movie. We have more reviews come out today because they did the world premiere Sunday night, was it? Or was it Saturday night? I think it was Sunday night.
I don't know.
I think it was Sunday night. Yeah, it was Sunday night. And we're getting a lot more reviews coming out. Basically, I would say 95% of it is all positive. Yeah, probably 3% of it is lukewarm, and then 2% of it is.
And a lot of the negative and lukewarm reviews that I see are the same kinds that I see for almost every new Marvel movie that comes out. Are kind of the same criticisms of it's kind of the same story that's being told over and over again, and the color correction isn't perfect, and the script is kind of hokey, and they get all these big name actors to say just this dumb stuff,
right?
Which I think all of that's valid, but I think the MCU just kind of surfs on top of that. I think there are, of course, plenty of valid criticisms to be made about every one of these movies so far. But for the most part, the same criticisms that people keep bringing up for every movie, it's just getting too big and it's getting too confusing and et cetera, et cetera. Those are the kinds of things that don't really bother me as much. Color correction could be better. There's some, hokey dialogue. The scripts aren't always perfect, but
there's hokey dialogue in every movie.
Right.
I don't the most perfect movie that you can pick. I bet you there's 4 or 5 lines that are super hokey that you can pick apart if you wanted to.
I could listen to Michael Douglas talk about the quantum realm all day long.
Yeah.
He completely sells it for me.
Yeah.
And Tilda Swinton talking about all the different sorcerer stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, even the quantum stuff, even in Ant-Man and the Wasp, they make fun of that Scott Lang goes, "Do you guys just put quantum in front of everything?"
Yeah.
It's a joke like that, but still.
It's self-aware.
Yeah, and that's totally fine if you do stuff like that.
No, so for people who are invested in the MCU and for people who kind of know what they're getting into with Captain Marvel, it's sounding it's good.
I mean, if you really,
it's a big surprise.
You could really break apart any if you really, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but if you really think too much about comic book movies anyway, you're going to be able to pick them apart. It's if you think about the whole premise of Infinity War, you could pick it apart to where it doesn't make that much sense, or blah 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 whatever. You could do that with any movie really.
And that's the entire value of Marvel movies is for what they are. They are good.
Yep.
And when you go in knowing what they are, you're going to enjoy them.
Yep. That's
not a blanket rule, but for 90% of people, 95% of people, when you go in knowing what they are, then they are good. They are well put together.
Yep.
And those are like the same criticisms that come around every time a new movie comes out.
Yeah.
In the MCU. And they're not perfect, but
we don't expect them to be
they
perfect.
Are great comic book movies.
Yes.
They're the cream of the crop.
Oh yes, they are. They are. That is a great definition of them. They are the top of the top of the top comic book movies. So what this got us deciding though is because since we are hyped about this movie, I don't care if the rest of the world or the morons on Twitter aren't. We are very hyped for this movie, and so what we decided to do is we're going to talk about some movies. Not necessarily comic book movies, but we're going to talk about some movies that the trailer looked awesome. Like, everything about it sounded awesome, looked awesome. And we're going to talk about the ones that lived up to the hype, and we're going to talk about the ones that barely didn't live up to it or, like, completely failed at living up to the hype.
In relation to Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Because right now the marketing has got us decently hyped, but our investment in the MCU has us super hyped.
Yeah. If this was a standalone movie, I probably wouldn't be... My hype, like my hypeness, and I hate using that word, but my hypeness, my litness for this movie is probably it's probably at like 98%. Like I am on board for this movie just because of the investment of what this is going to do for Endgame. Of once this movie comes out, then our theories for Endgame are going to come out even heavier. Like there's going to be a lot that comes out from this movie. That's one of the reasons why we're hyped about this. But if it was a standalone movie that had absolutely nothing to do with the MCU, I'd probably only be like a 50 to 60% of like, it's going to be that good. It's going to be good. It's kind of there for nothing. So the investment of this movie is really what's got us extremely excited for this movie. So for you, can you think of a movie that it sounded awesome, it looked like it was going to be amazing, you were hyped for it, and then you went and saw it, and it completely failed?
One of the best examples that we were talking about earlier is X-Men Apocalypse, which kind of relates to what we've been talking about with Dark Phoenix. That trailer was pretty sweet, apart from how Apocalypse looked, which didn't really bother me as much as it bothered other people.
Oh, it's... when you get to the movie itself, it's...
Yeah, I've heard rough. About that. But the trailer totally sold the movie to me.
Yeah.
And I was super interested, especially coming off the high that was Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
But I was super excited for X-Men Apocalypse, and from what I've heard, it's just complete.
It's trash. It's garbage. Don't waste your time. We could pick the obvious one, which we've talked about multiple times on here. But from the trailer itself, I think we were both very excited for. There was a lot of hype around Batman versus Superman. The trailer for the movie looked amazing. It looked great. It looked awesome. And then we went and saw it, and it was a complete and total fail. I think that's one that's really well. You brought up one earlier of one that I haven't seen in The Hobbit.
Yeah, The Hobbit. Before it came out, the first one looked like it was going to be pretty great, and especially with Martin Freeman, who was just a stellar casting choice for Bilbo. It looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, and everyone was like, "Oh, Lord of the Rings is back!" And then you watched it, and the more throughout all three of the movies, it just kind of got worse and worse.
Right.
It was really sad. The Hobbit was just kind of sad altogether.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of movies of they looked really awesome, they look like they should have been great, and then you go and watch them and they're not. What are some ones that they were good, but they weren't they didn't meet your expectations? If you can think of any on the spot. Because I think one for me would be, at the time, maybe not now, but at the time it was Age of Ultron.
Oh, the marketing for Age of Ultron was better than the movie.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
The marketing for that movie was one of the best campaigns Marvel Studios has ever done. But the movie itself was far from one of the best movies.
It wasn't terrible.
No, it's just the most middle of the road.
Yeah,
really.
Which they made Ultron sound and look really cool from all the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
And then in the movie, is his name Kevin Spader or James Spader? James Spader. Yeah, I get everybody mixed up. Even him,
Kevin Spacey.
No, you don't
Kevin
want.
Spacey or James Spader.
Yeah.
We're just gonna mix that up.
Yeah. But like even him, like even like watching him in the trailer, like listening to him like speak as Ultron was really cool. Like it seemed like it fit the character really well.
Yeah, and he didn't do a bad job in the movie.
It's just
differently.
yeah, and it's really hard with a robot to kind of make it feel like one thing that works with Thanos is like you're able to give him human emotions. And with Age of Ultron, it's kind of hard to give him those emotions,
Right, which he really isn't supposed to have that many emotions.
Right.
Being a robot.
Yeah.
Which is part of the problem.
Yeah. The only reason, the only defending I can do of that is because he was created by Tony Stark, and he kind of has Tony Stark in him a little bit.
Yeah.
He has that sarcastic attitude, but I think it was still over the top for the most part.
I think it makes sense in universe, and it's I get it, but in filmmaking, in watching it as a movie, it's just not.
It doesn't
really
fit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Especially when you see the similarities between him and Loki, and him and a lot of just kind of
Yeah.
snarky Marvel villains. It's we could have probably done a lot better with just this cold, killing machine.
Yeah.
Like we kind of saw in the beginning, in the party in Avengers Tower.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have seen more of that. I liked the way that he was presented there a whole lot.
Yeah, because in that part, he was this eerie, creepy, it was really weird, and it kind of gave this eerie vibe, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then throughout, it just kind of got weirder and weirder and weirder. And then there have been a lot of movies of that looked hype. It seemed like it was going to be really hype, and then you go and watch it, and it was as hype as you thought, or it blew your expectations. Obviously, Infinity War is one of them. Avengers is one of them.
Force Awakens
is one of them.
Force Awakens was a really big one.
Yeah.
The first trailer for that was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And the movie lived up to it.
Yeah.
It was really good.
You probably haven't seen many of these, but some of the Fast and Furiouses have been like that, where they seemed really cool, and then they actually were. Not the recent ones. The recent ones have been crap. I'm trying to think of. There's been a few of Deadpool. I think Deadpool lived up to the hype. Logan lived up to the hype for sure. I think The Dark Knight lived up to the hype, but then The Dark Knight Rises is kind of one of those ones that was it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I thought. Especially coming off of the trails of Dark Knight, it was it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's been a lot of movies they looked really hype, and then they weren't that great, or they were okay, and then you've got those top tier nope, yeah, that was fantastic, that was absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think there are a lot of those. Do you think which one, as of right now, and then I'll ask you this again next week, but as of right now, where would you fit Captain Marvel in this area?
In how hyped I am for it?
And then where do you think it will end up?
Well, I'll rank it in terms of other Marvel movies. I'd say it's about middle of the road for me.
Okay.
And that's due to I don't think I like the marketing campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the way that Disney markets almost all the Marvel movies that they've done. I definitely don't think it's been one of the best. I think it's been kind of on the lower end, but just with my excitement for this character and for this era and for the way it's going to tie into Endgame.
Yeah.
And my excitement for a lot of different elements of the movie, I put it kind of in the middle of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it would be, I'm trying to think of
not quite towards the top.
No, because obviously some of the ones that you extremely hyped for are Iron Man, Infinity War, the first Avengers movie.
I was really hyped for Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
That would be towards the top.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Trying to think of a few others.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming was one. I was I think I would put Black Panther in the middle between the top and middle, because especially coming off of Civil War, which Civil War is one of the ones I was really hyped for as well. But especially seeing him in Civil War, and then hearing he's going to get his own movie, I was okay, this is going to be I'm actually really hyped for this movie.
Civil War made him my favorite character outside of the main four Avengers in the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I was beyond hyped for Black Panther.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason that my initial reaction to it was kind of yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I've watched it again recently, and I've kind of come to terms with it, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I liked it all along, I've always thought it was good, but just not mind-blowing, amazing.
What were some of the MCU movies that you weren't like extremely excited? I don't want to say excited, but like you weren't as like hyped for. Because like for me, Thor: The Dark World was at the bottom. Because after the first Thor, I was like, I'm not that big on this.
The Iron Man 3 marketing was pretty great.
Yeah.
And the Winter Soldier trailer had me beyond hype.
Yeah, I think Ant-Man was like, I don't really know what to expect. Like, I'm not, it's just Ant-Man, so I kind of
like that trailer. It's tough to say which ones I didn't really like, because I liked almost all of them. I'd say maybe the Doctor Strange trailer wasn't incredible to me, but I did enjoy the movie. I'm not really sure, though.
Yeah.
For the most part, they've done a pretty great job. And I didn't watch trailers before the time when Avengers came out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Iron Man 3 was really one of the first trailers once I kind of got into this culture that I watched and was super hyped for the movie. I didn't really even watch the Avengers trailers all that much. I just knew about the movie coming out.
Yeah.
And I might have seen them a couple times, but I definitely didn't analyze them or anything.
Yeah.
Or I didn't like really obsess over them. And then when the movie came out, then that really like kicked everything into high gear.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Phase 1 trailers or marketing I can't really speak to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but with Captain Marvel, I think they've done because they kind of have to be careful of. Yes, everybody realizes that the movie after Captain Marvel is is probably the biggest movie in the MCU.
Yeah.
But they've still made it to where you still care about seeing the ride to Avengers Endgame through Captain Marvel. Like, you want to see Captain Marvel still, even though, we're even more excited for Avengers Endgame than we are Captain Marvel. But like, to understand what's going to happen in Endgame, you have to see Captain Marvel, and they've marketed that really well, I think.
I do think that Captain Marvel is in a really difficult spot.
Yeah.
And people have waited a long time after Ant-Man and the Wasp because there's always a break, kind of in the season since last summer. And Ant-Man and the Wasp left us on an extra cliffhanger, and now people are like, okay, well, this is kind of a thing that's far removed, and we just kind of want to know what happens next in the main narrative.
Yeah.
Which I understand. And Captain Marvel is in a very difficult position because it has really big shoes to fill. Which I'm kind of expecting it to fill those shoes, but I can understand why people have been kind of let down by the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like middle-of-the-road MCU origin story. I'd just rather see the big one.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the big movie.
Yeah.
I understand why it fits in that place, and I'm okay with that, but I can understand why people
aren't as excited for it. Get to Endgame.
Yeah.
Right. The only issue is, like, if you swapped Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp, I still don't think it would have worked as well. Like, I still think that
Ant-Man and the Wasp would be getting destroyed right now.
Yeah, because like, I think between any movie that you put between Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, people aren't going to really care as much about, because they just want to get to the next big movie.
Right, especially when Infinity War is
Lift
such
with
a dire cliffhanger.
Yeah, and then like what made. Like, all Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I just recently watched it, like, it was a decent movie. I'm not going to say it was good. It was a decent movie, but, like, the best part of the movie was the the end credit scene that left us on a cliffhanger for Endgame even more. And so it kind of pushed it along enough. So I think Captain Marvel, when people go watch it, like, the end credit scene for that one's going to be like, all right, you wanted something towards Endgame? Well, here it is.
And there's going to be way more tie-in also with Captain Marvel. I think there's going to be a lot of fan service.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard, too.
You could even see like Xandar getting destroyed. Or like
that'd be cool.
Or like she answers the call, or like something happens. Like, I think you're going to see it really come into play, cuz I even think like, and I don't think this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear anything about it, go ahead and turn us off. But
mute us for like 15 seconds.
Yeah, but like, I even think like the pager like going off is even going to be. I think they even said like the end credit scene in Infinity War is a scene in Captain Marvel. which I think I've seen somewhere of like probably towards the end, but like her pager going off and realizing what's going on. But I think like the snap is going to cause her to realize what's going on, and then the pager makes her realize how dire this, that type of thing. So there'll be a lot of tie-in though towards Avengers Endgame, and probably there'll be a lot of tie-in. What's really interesting about this is like there's going to be tie-in, like there's going to be callbacks from the past, but then there's going to be tie-ins to the future as well. So it's in this really cool area of like, yeah, it's going to bring up like Coulson and Ronan and like all of these different characters that you've already seen, but then it's also going to call to the future of like Avengers Endgame that we don't know anything about yet, which is really interesting, really cool to see, I think. So, do you have any other thoughts on any of the trailers we talked about, or anything else about Captain Marvel? Or
not in particular, no.
No, just go watch it. Just go watch it.
2 more nights.
Yes, 2 more nights, and then actually, if you follow us on Twitter, the Nerd Crew Podcast, I will record the short little video before, because it's going to be me, my brother-in-law, and then one of our friends is going with us at the 955 show. And we're going to shoot a little video of us in line, talk about how hyped we are, things like that. So look out for that. I'm sure on Tuesday, I'll probably have already seen it twice by the time we see it on Tuesday, because I'm planning on taking my sister and my mom to go see it, but they don't stay up late, and it's just, I'm not waiting 2 more days to go watch it. So, yeah, I'll see it at least twice before we come back, and then next week is our big Captain Marvel review. That's all we're talking about is Captain Marvel, unless something massive happens, which you never know. And we may even, depending on what happens in the movie, we may lead into some more Avengers Endgame talk, things like that as well. So check out that. Next week's going to be a fun episode. Next week, basically starting next week, the whole month and a half after that is just going to be straight up crazy. So if you're not an MCU fan, tough luck. But there will be a Lord of the Rings talk somewhere in the middle, because I have to watch those movies over spring break. So there will be a lot of different things coming up in the future. But yeah, I'm very excited for this weekend. I'm very excited for next week's episode. We're in a very fun time of the year for the MCU, basically for movies in general. I think we're going in the right direction for sure. Do you have any other thoughts or anything that you would like to add?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right.
We covered it all.
I think we did. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at the Nerd Crew Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at I'm in New York. Jason does not have a Twitter. He doesn't like you guys. Sorry. Because Jason Momoa never tweeted at you, so that never happened. Yeah. You can make sure that you follow us, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud. Make sure that you leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube. Basically all the fun stuff that everybody else tells you to do it for our channel. Share our channel. Make sure if you like what you see, tell your friends about it. Tell your families about it. Tell your dead loved ones about it. We don't care. Just get the word around. But yeah, we will catch you guys next week.